Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today, at the request of a donor, we are trying some Cephalid Breakfast out. Now this deck was very popular and quite successful until Nadu got banned. Obviously before Nadu was around it was still a deck then as well, but it seems to have dropped off a lot. Let's have a quick look at the data for the last 13 weeks. So if we scroll all the way down here, we're looking at Breakfast is down here. So 1.3% of the meta, but only 0.6% of top 8 share, which means it's underperforming by more than 50%. Which makes it one of the worst decks in the format. So why is this deck doing so badly? That's what we're here to find out today. This particular list that I've been sent comes from a tournament in Prague that I think it came second or did very well at this tournament in Prague. And we're obviously doing the normal things you'd expect. So we have Cephalid Illusionist. The way the combo works is every time we target this, we mill 3. So we target it an infinite amount of times with Nomads and en-Kor until our library is into our graveyard. All our Narcomoebas jump out. And then we sacrifice Dread Return, targeting Thassa's Oracle to win the game. So we can win as early as turn number 2, because we can go Shuko or Nomads on turn 1, and then turn 2 play the Illusionist. And we can also back that up with Force of Will and Daze. Now that seems like a powerful, proactive game plan you'd expect to be good in the current Legacy format, but it just doesn't seem to be doing very well right now. Perhaps that's because the blue-black tempo decks are going to be very good into this. They have multiple forms of disruption. They have things like Orcish Bowmasters, which can take out our Illusionist as well. This particular list, now there's no need to play green. We are splashing a little bit for black, so we can hardcast this Cabal Therapy from hand. It also gives us the ability to sometimes cast this Dread Return, because we do have 2 black sources. We get some white control spells like Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending. We've got our cantrips to go and find our combo. We've got ourselves the Step Through here. This allows us to tutor for any wizard. So we can tutor for Illusionist. If we're underneath, let's say, a Leyline of the Void, and we've got the combo, we can then tutor for the Thassa's Oracle. Then it doesn't matter what happens to the cards going into our graveyard. So we can then just hard combo through it that way. And we've also got the Tamiyo, which is just one of the best things to be doing in blue right now. So why not? I think it's actually one of the best things to be doing in Legacy, full stop. The other thing we have here is a Spicy Venser. This card used to be all the rage, and it's kind of dropped off a lot. 4 mana is very expensive. But the fact is, it's very flexible, and it can return uncounterable spells. So being able to bounce the spell off the stack means that you can get around uncounterable clauses. So maybe you can protect like a Cephalid Illusionist from something like an Abrupt Decay or something like that. We've got a couple of Urza Saga, which can then tutor up our Shuko, but we also have these Aether Vials. Aether Vial is kind of an interesting addition here. This just means that our combo pieces are going to be uncounterable potentially, and we can tutor this up with the Aether Vial. So we've kind of got like a little bit of a backup plan using Urza Saga to grind a couple of constructs. And we've got Tamiyo, which is basically a plan in and of itself. So we've got lots of different elements going together here. Our mana base is pretty much as you'd expect. We have 2 Surveil lands. We're a combo deck. We like having that slight extra amount of dig in our deck, kind of for free, even though they will come in tapped, but we can usually work around that. As for the sideboard, we've got an Urza Saga target in Pithing Needle. We've got some Graveyard Hate in Extraction and Macabre. We've got Lavinia to stop some combo decks. We have an interesting pile. Let's put them all together, actually. So we have 2 Agent of Treachery and an Ashen Rider. These are what we're going to try and use in order to beat up on like the show and tell decks, because they show and tell something in, we steal it. That's pretty cool. Or we can blow it up. We've got some more counter magic, the Force of Negation and the Consigned to Memory, another Prismatic Ending if we need to remove some stuff, and then this card, Civi's Valor. So it's 3 mana, instant. If you control a planes, you may tap an untapped creature you control rather than play this spell's mana cost. All damage that will be dealt to target creature this turn is dealt to you instead. So this just allows you to make the like Illusionists and Nomads dodge sweepers that are damage based. Kind of interesting card. I've not really seen it played very much, so we'd be excited if we can board it in and see how it fares. That is the deck. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I haven't seen a lot of Breakfast. I've barely played against it at all since the banning of Nadu. So let's see how things lie for this once great deck. Let's get started. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3-for-1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3-for-1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. We can keep this. We've got a Tamiyo plan. We've got some Ponder to help grease the wheels a little bit. I'm curious what we lead off with. It's probably just Island Tamiyo. A Green Sun Zenith. This is going to be getting a Dryad Arbor. Our opponent used to be known for playing elves, but I doubt they're playing just straight up elves these days. Okay, I'm just going to get the Tamiyo up and running. Next turn we can play the Saga and start working towards our combo. We could have played this turn 1, cycle this turn 2 and try and combo turn 3. But we've got a bunch of nice controlling tools like Prismatic Endings and Swords to Plowshares that we can find that should hopefully be able to bridge the gap nicely. And if we were just to play out the Saga and they just immediately wasteland us, then we lose the game. Because they're going to be so far ahead at that point. Because they ramped on 1. Okay, they've got a lot of mana here. Are we just getting natural ordered? I'm so glad that was just a Green Sun Zenith and not a natural order. What are they doing for 3? Grist. Sure, so they're going to sacrifice their Gaia's Cradle. They're going to get this back due to the Badger Cub. And then our poor defenseless Tamiyo is no longer part of the world. Interesting. I don't think I have to do anything with these creatures yet because they're quite low damage, really. Let's have a look. We go Tundra, Nomads, Force. So we could hold up Plow now. Yeah, I think I like holding up the Plow rather than getting the other Saga running because we already have the combo now. In an ideal world, I would like to have another blue card to pitch this Force because this is our Cephalid Illusionist right now. Yep, you can mill over the Grist, but if we get in a situation where we have to Plow something, then we just deal with that. Natural order. Well, this is why we put the Force. I'd rather not get rid of my step 3. If we have to, we have to. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. Am I willing to Plow a Badger Mole Cub? Doesn't seem very threatening. Okay, I think we'll just start this running. Do I want to play out a Nomads en-Kor? I don't think so. We're just going to hold this as a combo piece. Although, we already have the combo piece coming from the Saga. Do we want to just run this out? I guess so. If our opponent wants to minus their Grist and lose one of their bodies, I think I'm okay with that. We have the option of maybe hitting this Dryad Arbor to try and keep them off of the mana because this is worth 2 mana. But they have this which is worth 1 mana and any other land just gives them enough to get a natural order off. So I don't think it's worth trying to plow a Dryad Arbor. But maybe if they natural order and go and get Atraxa, we can just plow the Atraxa. They're going to have a bunch of cards, but they're not going to have the big scary thing that we care about, which is the Atraxa. Although they might be able to then spend a couple of turns building up to a Crater Hoof kill. There's a land. Green, green. What are we doing? A Badger Mole Cub. You got it. They're going to put the counter on the Cradle. If they minus the Grist, we can plow the Cradle. No, we can't plow the Cradle because we spent white mana on the Nomads, didn't we? We don't get to do that. But if they're minusing, they're losing their Grist to do so. Right, they're just making an insect. That does make the Cradle tap for a lot of mana. If they have another natural order, 10 mana. This is a Green Sun Zenith for Crater Hoof, I guess. That's probably lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures. So 5, 10, 15, 20 plus the base powers. That will kill us. Yep, because it gives everything haste and trample. And +5. Oh no, creatures you control gain trample. It doesn't give everything trample. So actually, it's only this and this attacking. How much is that? That is 19 damage. We get to block 1 of it. Alright, that is not enough. Yep. They had quite a good draw there. At least they're playing what I think is the correct build of this deck. Some people playing it without natural order just seems wild because the only thing I care about in my opponent's deck is the natural order, so if they're not having it, makes our life a lot easier. Alright, we'll have a Prismatic Ending, I suppose. We can take out some of the little guys. I don't want Consigned Memory for like their triggers if they do get their natural order off. Then we just have to spend 1 card to sort of answer a natural order because we don't care about a 5/5 body that much. That's a possibility. We can make it harder for our opponent to cast their things, but not enough that I think that's going to matter. Pithing Needle can name White to the Reliquary and Grist, so this has some text to it. What doesn't seem useful here? I don't like Daze, and it doesn't feel like that's going to get us where we need to go. I think we have to keep the Forces because of natural order. I think maybe Venser is a bit slow here, so we'll just trim that. I don't think we're going to get this consign in. We've just got a couple of extra tools available. Alright. Swords to Plowshares is nice. A Brainstorm is also nice. I'll keep this. Are we just going to Surveil on 1? Probably. Surveil on 1, then we Brainstorm on 2 with Fetch Land. Maybe we end up in a situation where we have to Cabal Therapy on 2 to stop our opponent from being able to get a natural order off. Since that is the one card we're scared of. Obviously when they get enough mana, so the Green Sun Zenith is the same as natural order, sure. But until they get to that point, which we can stop them with Swords to Plowshares getting to that point, it's not so bad. Alright, here is our Surveil. Another Brainstorm. Like, it's obviously a pretty good card. I think we're going to keep that. It's just good at digging our way to the combo piece we require. We could get Thought Seized here, so having more cantrips means that we're going to be able to find things a little bit better. Okay, goodbye, Black Source. And now we've got an Once Upon a Time. Interesting they did this first. I guess they didn't want this to be dazed. But that's not a likely thing for us to do. So now we have Brainstorm into Fetchland. We could Brainstorm in our opponent's end step. I quite like all of our cards, so I think that's okay. If I like the Cabal Therapy is the one I want to get rid of. Ignoble Hierarch, sure. I think for velocity's sake, because our opponent's deck can do some stuff quite quickly, we are going to Brainstorm the end step here. Okay, we put back the Cabal Therapy here, and we were about to draw the other one, so it doesn't matter. We could Brainstorm now and play the Aether Vial, or we could play the Aether Vial and hold up the Source to Plowshares. I like that. Let's get the Aether Vial down. This gives us the combo next turn. We still have 2 Narcomoebas in the deck, so that'll be enough to get our Dread Return off. Now, if our opponent's playing Endurance, that gets a little bit awkward, so maybe we Brainstorm end of turn looking for a blue card. Oh, sorry, a Force of Will. And obviously we can put the Narcomoeba back in the deck as well. A Badger Mole Cub. Okay. I would like to see this Ignoble Hierarch attack. Or tap, that's also fine. So this makes the the Ignoble Hierarch tap for more mana then. Because of Badger Mole Cub just says whenever a creature taps for mana, so it improves the Ignoble Hierarchs. That's how they could play the white here. I'm going to go and get a Tundra. And we're going to Brainstorm looking for... Okay, not really what I wanted, but it'll do. For now, at least. Yes, I'll put a counter on my Aether Vial. Let's play the Illusionist. Let's put in the Nomads. And then we'll start targeting our Illusionist. So we get back in a Narcomoeba here. So we should have one more Narcomoeba here. I think I will Cabal Therapy first. Since we're here, and we're going to name Endurance. Our opponent's got nothing, so we can just win here. We should have one more Narcomoeba in there. Somewhere. There it is. They're just letting us mill our whole deck so they can see how he's sideboarded. Dread Return, target. Thassa's Oracle. Sacrifice. 1, 2, 3. We win the game. Alright, that felt better. If we can do some more combo-y type stuff, instead of having a bit of a slow hand like we did in game 1, that's going to be beneficial for us. Our opponent doesn't really interact with us very much. They've probably got Endurances and Thought Seizers, and that's about it. So I think we're happy with how we sideboarded. We're going to submit again. Okay, yeah, we can keep this. Leyline of the Void. Double Leyline of the Void. Okay. So we need to find the Wizard Cycling spell so we can go and get our Thassa's Oracle. And once we get the Thassa's Oracle, we can just come off a Birds of Paradise. What if I was to bolt your bird? Do you want to play on basics here? Feels like it's more or less free to do so. Goodbye, Birds of Paradise. We have an Underground Sea we can fetch and fire off this Cabal Therapy if we wish. Sylvan Safekeeper, you got it. We might just be doing Urza Saga beatdown plan here. Let's get this Aether Vial in. Let's get this Shuko in. I don't think our opponent's boarding in Force of Vigor for us. It's possible. Our opponent might just board in everything they have. But I don't think that's going to get you that many percentage points. And probably loses you percentage points a lot of the time when it just sits there not doing anything. Although they don't know how many Sagas we have. If they think we have 4 Sagas, then maybe boarding in Force of Vigors makes sense. So this turn, I would like to make a construct, but I also like to Cabal Therapy away any potential natural order. So we have a decision to make here. We can go and get an Underground Sea, Therapy our opponents so they can't natural, but then we don't get this Urza Saga to do anything. How much mana do we have here? 1 mana, 2, 3. So we would need another land to cast Natural Order, which is reasonable for them to have. Are we playing to win the game, or are we playing to not lose the game? Now, given winning the game is difficult with these in play, maybe we are supposed to be playing... Although, like, the Saga making a 3-3 here is pretty good. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough call, this one. Really tough. I think we're just going to make the construct here. If we get blown out, and so be it. Because we're just not going to use our mana effectively. If we go and get a Black Source here, we don't get to ponder off of this island, off this plains. 2 mana. Don't do it to me, opponent. Badger Mole Cup. Okay. So this taps for 3 now. Once Upon a Time. Not really the sort of high impact card they were hoping for there. and a Dried Armor. So we've got perfect information of their hand. They can't attack into our 3/3 here. So we've kind of stymied things somewhat. I think we weren't supposed to get this basic plains, and now we're paying for it. I think that's what's actually happening here. Let's make a friend. Well, I will put a counter on this Aether Vial. I will make another friend here. Pithing Needle. Let me put this on white of the Reliquary. And I will get this going. It's a Nomads. That's not actually the one we want right now, so that can go into the graveyard. Equip this to the Construct. Send in the Clown. Re-equip the other Construct. We're very much in the fair beatdown side of things. We can chuck a Narcomoeba in if we need it. We're just trying to hope our opponent doesn't draw natural order. Why would I say such a thing? So we probably just chuck this Narcomoeba in at end step. 6 mana. 9 mana. Okay, I guess they draw on a Green Sun Zenith. They're just going to Crate Hoof us right out. Or is this an Atraxa? Crate Hoof's 8, I think, right? 5 green, green, green. Yeah, so just getting an Atraxa in. That is something we can beat. Now, the natural order that comes the next turn might be a little bit trickier. I found 3 natural orders on there. So they're playing a good amount. Our opponent is a pretty competent Magic the Gathering player, so it doesn't surprise me they're playing the build that I think is best with the natural orders in. They've also got Wasteland that they can dig for as well. So I like what our opponent's cooking with here. Wasteland, Birds, Natural Order. So playing everything out apart from this natural order. Understood. Wasted me there. That's actually really, really problematic for us. We might lose because we didn't fetch a Tundra on turn 1. So I put in this Narcomoeba. It's not the most exciting creature. We don't have black mana now, so we can't use this Cabal Therapy. Get through. We're so close, but we don't have a way of... Oh, this is so problematic, isn't it? I guess we ponder here. We look for a black source. No, we don't have a black source that works here, do we? We have a plow. Does that matter here? No, I don't think it does. Because they just have so many bodies. I think our opponent's got us here. There's the Oracle. We're so close. So close here. I don't think there's any way we can get an additional mana here. So close. If we'd have got a... No, this wouldn't have been up to enough mana yet. Yeah, we're 1 mana shy of winning the game this turn. Our opponent natural orders. If they draw Crate Hoof, they can just cast it from hand and that kills us as well. Yeah, I think our opponent's got us here and we just can't soak up enough damage. I think another mistake we made was playing the Narcomoeba off of the Aether Vial. If we'd have put the Cephalid Illusionist in, it does give us the option of finding the Thassa's Oracle. And that would have actually been a winning line for us. So we did have an option here. Now, our opponent's obviously putting their real heat to us. But maybe we're supposed to play to these little small outs. Green Sun Zenith for 1. Is this Allosaurus Shepherd? It is. So now they have an uncounterable natural order. Yep. I don't believe we're going to be able to survive this much damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So each one of them is 9. So let's say we block all the damage from the biggest 2. We still die to everything else. Yep, we could have won this one if we would have put the Cephalid Illusionist in instead of the Narcomoeba. I think that's probably what we actually are supposed to do there. And if I'd have thought about it for a bit longer. It's the sort of thing that you would catch if you're playing a game yourself, but maybe you don't catch when you're just trying to stream and commentate, have lots of things going through your head. Unfortunate. But we did have a line that could have got us there. Now, we did get very lucky to draw this Thassa's Oracle. But if we'd have... I guess we had the step through as well that we could have drawn. So we actually had 3 outs there. Yeah, I think that was just a big miss from us, really. All right, on to the second round. Yeah, this is a land. I don't think I'm playing an Aether Vial out on 1. I think I'm just going to get this Tamiyo down. And we're in. I'm not really a lover of Aether Vial as a card in general. If they try and kill our Tamiyo, do we protect it into the Daze here? I don't think we do. We don't really have much going on now. Okay. We can get an Aether Vial in here. And we can play around Daze. Then we can go get a Surveil land. We've got a Force of Will that we can use to stop something like a Corrie Steel Cutter, which is the main thing we're worried about on turn 2. Just a Ponder is fine. So yeah, we've got time to navigate this one. Having the Dread Return in hand isn't ideal because we need to then Cabal Therapy out of our hand. I'm sure we'll find a Brainstorm at some point. We don't get to fetch a non-basic here. Well, we don't need that much mana. Our combo is quite cheap, and we have an Aether Vial that's also providing mana for us. Flooded Strand. So the Witch Enchanter can actually kill our opponent's Corrie Steel Cutter, so I'm kind of interested in that as an option for us. Not that we're going to get our Aether Vial up to 4, but maybe we get our Aether Vial up to 4, and because we got 2 4-drop creatures here. Stranger things have happened. Although we're probably just going to have to burn this Force of Will on something like a Murktide or a Corrie Steelcutter. Those are the two things that we would like to answer. A Murktide Regent. No, thank you. Alright, that just worked. I think I'm willing to go and get a Surveil Lamp, purely because we have the Aether Vial here. We could crack both and stack the Surveils. Cephalid Illusionist, that's one of the pieces we want. Am I holding this? I don't think I am now. I think I'm just going to play this tapped. And then I guess we get another Surveil land. So we've got 2 white sources. They can't take us off a white unless they play another Wasteland here. Some guy, that's fine. They're 100% going to Wasteland this black source. That's fine. I just want to see the card. I'll take a plow right now. Why are you wasting my sewers? I'm going to leave this at 2. Just going to plow this guy right now. Stop them getting extra cards with it. Filling up their graveyard with Murktide. 4 Murktide, sorry. Alright, brainstorming, so they're going to get a Surveil first. Goodbye, Dragon's Rage Channeler. They like the card they saw, which isn't ideal for us. I'm going to float black and make them think about it. I don't think they've worked out what we're doing yet. So then they go after the archive. A little bit sketchy. But if our opponent's not putting pressure on us, that's fine. We're eventually going to be able to combo. Alright, so there's some pressure. It's only a 1-1 for now, but they do have 3 types over there. A Narcomoeba. That is something that we can just kind of flash in and block the Dragon's Rage Channeler with, and that might blow our opponent out. But we need to be aware that we need to get this Dread Return out of our hand, which means we need to sacrifice a creature. So we currently have to probably find the Narcomoeba to get this to work. Oh, sorry, to find the Nomads. How big is this guy? A 4/4. Okay, I will tap this Aether Vial. Oh, they're not going for it. I think I'm willing to tap this and put a Narcomoeba in. They didn't attack into our guy, so they're not going to fall for it next turn either, I don't think. Just getting the bodies in play. That's where I want to be. Alright, this gets us to where we need to be. This also gives us extra bodies. We just need to survive for long enough and hope that our opponent doesn't have interaction, because they can interact at instant speed with the Shuko version of the combo. I'm happy to take 4 here. We're still at 17. We've got plenty of life to work with. A Corrie Steelcutter. Post-combat Corrie Steelcutter suggests they're not going to be playing another spell this turn. So I can live with. Put this Aether Vial on the stack. We do not put a counter on it. A Swords, 2 Plowshares. I don't think we need to use that plow yet. Let's see how big our opponent goes this turn with the Corrie Steelcutter. That is a Brainstorm. So this is a creature. The 2 Narcomoebas in our deck are creatures, and this is a creature. That's 4 creatures. We can afford to block with Narcomoeba and still be able to get this Dread Return out of our hand. Hexing Squelcher. Squelching it up. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. You got it. Yep, I think we're just going to take this turn. Activate the Saga. Leave this as it is. Can't float some mana off of this one. Right, they're fetching around a Pithing Needle. Makes sense. We get the Shuko in. Do I try and hit this? I think we kind of need to try a bait spell here, so I think I will try and source to Plowshares this creature. You're going to take the bait? They're not. They might just not have anything, which is also possible. Let's put in this Illusionist. Like we're very much going to be dead next turn, I think. So this is the moment where our opponent could Lightning Bolt and ruin the day. Unholy Heat. Same but different. This gives us another ping on this, which is something. So maybe we can find enough Narcomoebas to survive. This is already going to be big enough. I guess we just equip the Narcomoeba here. Pass it over. That's obviously not great for us. But if our opponent has a Lightning Bolt there, we're probably dead on our next turn anyway. Mishra's Ball, because they're going to have another guy. This is probably going to flip. And they're going to have a Bolt to the face. So probably going to be at 2 life and just die to these. So I think we're right to go for it then, even though it didn't quite pan out. Alright, so this is going to give them Delirium now. Oh, they've got a Lightning Bolt to the face. A second Lightning Bolt. Okay. Well, that leaves us very dead here. I believe our opponent has the ability to turn their guys sideways. Okay, I guess this is going to be a matchup where we want to have the prevent damage thing here. The Civi's Valor. Let's get one of those in. That seems like a good addition. I don't mind having a little bit more interaction for our opponent. Just killing their 1-drops makes sense. We're not doing any of this stuff. I don't really like Lavinia here. Pithing Needle on Wasteland, but by the time we cycled through our Saga to get this, like, we don't really care about Wasteland that much at that point. So maybe a Daze is probably a little bit... But I don't really understand the Venser in this list. It's so expensive in the current format. Let's just try this. Maybe we keep a Daze on the play, but what comes out then? Tamiyo is just really good. No, I think we're just going to try it like this. Our opponent's deck is just a bunch of 1-drops, so Daze is very easy for them to play around, especially when we're trying to do our go turn. I can't just keep it enter the battlefield tapped land. Let's just mulligan this one. We've got some interaction. We've got a Saga or two. We've got 2 Sagas, so we've got a game plan there. We probably are playing on basics here. Play this one out. Go and get our basic planes here. And then I'll Prismatic Ending this. We'll save the plow because the plow can hit the Murktide, whereas the Pending can't. I don't think I'm playing Shuko here. I'm not into a Daze. Alright, Wasteland hits our Saga. If they don't have a follow-up, that'd be nice. They do have a follow-up. Am I just going to plow this? I'm going to let it run roughshod over us. I think I'm okay to plow this. The graveyard isn't looking that deep yet, so we've got a while before Murktide comes online. There's a Brainstorm. DRC. Maybe the third one is the charm. Alright, we're going to crack this now, because if we don't crack this now, our opponent can play a Wasteland, and as soon as we crack that fetch to try and make a guy, they can just crack it and destroy our Saga in response to our fetch. So we have to make sure we get our lands in play first. We're going to make a couple of guys. No attack from our opponent. They don't want to trade their DRC for a token. Petty Theft. Well, our Civi's Valor doesn't stop that. This is only damage. Guess we get an Aether Vial. And we pass. Put this up to 2 and get some free Narcomoebas. Squelchy. Yep. They don't get to attack here, which is nice. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how nice this treatment is when they have special versions of cards that just have actual, like, opaque text boxes instead of being, like, translucent ones that are very hard to read. Kind of reminds me of Old Border a little bit. Sorry, little aside there. I really hate a lot of the alternate treatments that exist these days. Let's play a Shuko. Let's equip the Shuko. And do I want to attack the 4-3? I think it's better on blocks than it is on attacks. And then next turn, we can cycle the step through to go and get the Illusionist, and then the Aether Vial can play them. But we do have to... I guess we don't care about damage because we have the Civi's Valor. But we do get cooked by a Daze on the Civi's Valor. Okay, you've got a Murktide. A land here would be great. Just so we can play around Daze. Yes, we put this to 2. Okay, we found the land. I think this means we are going for it here. We'll crack this first. We may as well just get Tundra. And then I will Wizard Cycle. Who doesn't love a good Wizard Cycle? I'll leave out the blue. Not that it makes a difference which one we're getting there. Here's a Cephalid Illusionist. Let's see if our weird sideboard tech actually wins us the game or not. Start doing the thing. They need to have Force of Will, blue card, and a burn spell here. Oh, they got Pyroblast. Ugh. Yep, okay. Like, we played around so many things in their hand. But they had the Pyroblast. We get the Narcomoeba out. That's something. Is it something good? Jury's kind of out on that one. Okay. I'm starting to feel why people aren't liking Cephalid Breakfast right now. We just seem very fragile. Whereas if we just had Nadu, like we just play Nadu and we just win the game off of the Nadu, and it's very hard to interact with. And if they do interact with it, we draw some cards. Alright, 5 to the dome from the old Murktide. We can draw another Cephalid. There's 3 in our deck. There's another step through as well. So we've got 4 draws. That's not bad. We can chump block for a little while. But the Narcomoebas, we kind of need them for other stuff. Ooh, a Brainstorm. Yes, please. Okay. Narcomoebas, you can go away. Source to Plowshares. I guess we target this guy. Pay 2 life. Do we get to get rid of it? I would like to ponder here and try and shuffle these cards I put on top of my library. Any order, shuffle. Force of Will. Hello, Hexing Squelcher. Am I attacking? Our opponent's got 24 life. I think this is better just held back to block. I will trade a Narcomoeba for a Brazen Borrower given the chance. I assume that's what they're putting in the end step here. They didn't do anything with the rest of their mana this turn. We can't counter stuff. Another Volcanic Island. That's not really where our opponent wants to be here. It's quite a low amount of action. I'll block here. Okay. Very happy for that trade. We've got a Brainstorm. That's a good way of digging. Oh, dead return. Get back in our deck, please. This can go away. Force of Will seems pretty bad here as well. But do I need all of these lands? Probably not. Alright, we'll just hold them at bay for a little bit. I really want this card to win us the game. We were so close to it winning the game for us. But then they had the wrong red spell that we were playing around. I think we're right to send it there, though. I don't think it's getting better for us. What surveil land do we have left? We haven't milled any over, have we? No, okay. Do I want this Undercity Sewers? I think so. Just so that if we draw the Cabal Therapy, we can at least cast it. I don't think Witch Enchanter is where I need to be here either. Command deck. Kind of missing having something like a Stoneforge Mystic here. Okay, we can Wizard Cycle. Do I go for it here? And hope that the Civi's Valor... Like, our opponent isn't playing anything. What would they have in hand? Burn spells, counter spells, and... Yes, burn spells, counter spells. And that's pretty much it, right? 3 cards is so many. We could try to draw a removal spell. How many removal spells do we have left in the deck? We've gone through 1 ending, 1 swords, 2 swords. So that's 3 down. So we've got 3 left in our deck. Okay, I'm going to give it one more turn. See if we can get something going here. Now, our opponent knows we've got the Cephalid Illusionist now. I ponder. Are we going to be making our Dragon's Channel Delirious? This is instant, sorcery, land, creature. So yes is the answer to that one. So we're going to take 3 here. Another ponder. So this is probably the last turn that we can afford to take damage. We're just going to have to go for it next turn and hope that the Civi's Valor does enough, because this stops working when our life gets a certain amount. So just kill us instead. Yep, a little bauble action. All your spells are uncounterable. Enjoy. Yep, 3 to the dome. Our opponent's going to have 4 cards once they draw off this bauble. Their trigger resolves first, then our trigger goes and resolves. We won't add any counters. Another Force of Will. Squelcher, why you do this to me? Again, I don't think we get a choice here. I think we just have to try and send it. You can have another Pyroblast. Please be a Lightning Bolt. We lose to Pyroblast here. It is a Lightning Bolt. That's good news. Haha. Do you have a Force of Will here? Or another Lightning Bolt kills us either way. They do have a Force of Will. So our Civi's Valor is countered. Our Illusion dies. We at least get a Narcomoeba though. I wasn't really expecting to see Hexing Squelcher out of a Delver deck, but I guess. Now what? How do we have any hope here? Yikes. We're running out of Narcomoebas as well. I think we have to leave this so we need enough bodies. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Can we draw another Illusionist? Do we even have any more Illusionists left? We got 1, 2, 3. So there's 1 Illusionist left in our deck. Alright, Brainstorm. Our opponent might just Pyroblast this. I think I would be interested in doing that myself. Yeah, whatever. Actually, this is kind of interesting, isn't it? So we can put in this Illusionist. I guess if we don't have the return in hand, so we don't get through anything with this. What are we doing here? We Lightning Bolt in my face. Yep. Hexing Squelcher kind of soloed us out a bit there. Yikes. Okay. Struggling a little bit. Let's go to round number 3. I don't like this hand very much. I think we have to mulligan this. Deck. Don't be like that. Let's mulligan, try and find a land. Okay, we got some lands. I want this. I will take these and this. Let's brainstorm our way to victory. This hand is actually fine. We get turn 1 Aether Vial, start charging our laser. And then we've got the brainstorm into Flooded Strand that we can rely on soon. Prismatic Vista. Generally you see this out of control decks, but also ninjas and stuff sometimes play it. Or usually play it. This could be either. Okay, good to know. Now we're already under 1,000,000 tons of pressure from this Tamiyo. Well, that's step 1 achieved. We can play our own Tamiyo. Am I putting this land back? It's probably the land. And then we can activate the vial and put in a Tamiyo. Like, I kind of want this land anyway, so I might just draw the land next turn. Although we might have to brainstorm. I don't think there's any reason to put in... If they played a land out first, then I would put in Tamiyo to block this. So they can't get like one of the cantripping ninjas if that's what they're doing. Alright, they're not doing that. They're doing some sort of blue-white control deck playing all the best cards. Seems like a good place to be. Like, they're going to have Felio and Quantum Riddler and stuff. Cauldron, you don't see that much Cauldron these days. People tend to go for Meteor Sword as their big thing of choice. I'll put counter on this. Alright, let's get an attack in. And then we're going to cast a Brainstorm. We're going to try and attempt to win the game this turn if things go well for us. Now we're under reduced resources because we had to mulligan. This is bad. We could bin off both of these, and then we get to Cabal Therapy. So let's flip this, plus this one out. So this probably gets us an Underground Sea, I think is the one we want. And we'll Cabal Therapy our opponent. They might be able to work out what we're playing once they see the Cabal Therapy. I'll take this Cauldron so we don't just get bodied and we get more time. Oh, they already had the Batterskull. That is a back to basics over there. And a Force of Will. Hopefully we can clean that off next turn. I'm going to do a little bit of a cheeky play here. Do I need to do a little bit of a cheeky play? Probably not. I was thinking of activating this Aether Vial in the beginning of combat. And then, like, undoing it. But I don't think that's what I'm going to do here. Yep, you get your little clue token there. We know what's on top of our library. We know we don't want it. So I'm going to shuffle off this Flooded Strand. Brainstorm from our opponent. So now we're going to have dueling Tamiyos. But ours got to go first. And that means that we can just race to the top and win the game with Tamiyo. Which is definitely the best thing in our deck. Which is sad since we have a whole deck built around these other cards. But this card is just so high on the power level that it rarely is not the best thing you're doing in your deck. We're getting Prismatic Ending. Lights out for us, maybe. Okay. In our upkeep, we'll crack this land. Let's go and get ourselves a basic Plains, because we know there's a back to basics coming soon. We will not put a counter on this. We'll draw for turn. A Witch Enchanter. It doesn't do enough here. I think we're going to crack this clue. We have the Nomads. How do we get through this Force of Will our opponent has? I could play this Nomads. The problem is, our opponent doesn't have to Force of... Well, I guess they do have to Force of Will because we have the Aether Vial, right? But maybe they don't. But is there any other way around this? This takes out the back to basics, which doesn't hurt. But then if they just minus and get this, then they still have the Force of Will that we need to get through. Are we just trying to draw any other creature so that we can... There's no point playing this Witch Enchanter but when they're going to play back to basics. They probably get this back and exile our Aether Vial anyway. I don't think we get to play anything here. I think we have to try and draw into another creature. They probably don't play the back to basics. They probably just hold it up for the Force of Will and put in the Stoneforge Mystic here. Yeah, not feeling happy about this one. We need to be able to get this Cabal Therapy off and take out the Force of Will. Okay, they're just going to the top with the Tamiyo. That's actually good news for us. 5 cards in hand. We know 3 of them. Another... I guess another Nomads is fine because we can use the Witch Enchanter. A land is reasonable. I'll take a Ponder. Weird line, but I don't hate it. A no to this. We draw this. We put in our Thassa's Oracle. The problem here is if they have a Source of Plowshares, we're really in trouble. Alright, we're going to put in this Thassa's Oracle. We're going to shuffle those 2 cards away. And then we get to Cabal Therapy our opponent here, which puts our Thassa's Oracle in the right zone anyway. We get to Force of Will. We get to name Force of Will. Put in the Batterskull. Sure. It's not what this game is about anymore. Force of Will. So we take the Force of Will. Nothing in their hand matters. We play this, pay the life. Play the Nomads. Get the Illusionist. Oh, that was a really nice line there. Right, we've got a pause here like our opponent is scooping. There we go. Okay, we managed to finagle our way through. Our opponent last turn, they could have minus the Tamiyo, got back the Prismatic Ending, taken out our Aether Vial, and then we wouldn't have been able to make this play. Which is what I think they should have done. It does mean they don't get to put in the Batterskull, which gives us more turns. But you've got a Force of Will, right? All you need to do is stop us being able to put more stuff in. So I think we take the Aether Vial there. Alright, how are we going to beat some sort of control deck? Good question. We can name Stoneforge Mystic. We've also seen Jace, the Mind Sculptor, so I wouldn't mind being able to name that. Being able to Prismatic End their like germ tokens doesn't seem the worst. We could get a little bit weird with it and try and surgically extract something. So we could surgically extract like a counterspell after they've used one. As a possibility. I'm not really liking the Daze very much. And then it becomes a little bit tricky what we cut here. I quite like the Aether Vials, but they're going to have a lot of answers. So maybe trim 1 Aether Vial. And just try that. Tamiyo is very strong. Tamiyo times 2 is very strong. Okay. We can also Cabal Therapy away something they fetch with a Stoneforge at some point. They started off on an island. I think we just go and get a basic island ourselves here. We also have the combo. We're going to try and exhaust our opponent using these Tamiyos and then deploy our combo. Ooh, a Brainstorm on turn 1 like that. That feels desperate from a control deck. I like that for us. That means that they are desperately looking for an answer to kill our Tamiyo. But you could do that on your turn because all your answers cost 1 mana. So, I'm not sure about that. Here's red mana. Here's a Pyroblast. Boom. Yeah, red blast, same but different. We're just going to play the next Tamiyo. Here comes Tamiyo. I'm going to go and get a basic Plains here and just deploy one of our Nomads. If our opponent taps out to answer the Tamiyo, we can then maybe tap out with a Force of Will backup if our opponent is tapped out and we draw a blue card. Otherwise, we can just start doing Tamiyo stuff. Do I think they have any flash threats? They could have a Snapcaster. We can just move the damage from the Nomads onto the Tamiyo, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to send in these clowns, get our 1 point of damage, and more importantly, getting our clue. I'll play out this Tundra. I will pass. I'm not going to crack this clue just yet. A Brainstorm with the fetch down this time, so they're going to have a much better Brainstorm than the one they played on turn 1. But this Tamiyo is already worth 1 card, like 1 bonus card. So if they answer this, we've already got a 2 for 1. And every turn that goes by, we just accrue the card advantage here. You're going to kill my poor sweet Tamiyo. Okay, I will draw a card with this clue token. A Step Through. I think I'm willing to fight. I don't think our opponent has another mountain to fetch. I think I'm willing to fight over this Pyroblast. Tamiyo is just such a powerful game object. Now they could just kill this with white removal. Okay. Cephalid Time Raveler. You're going to bounce my boy. My poor defenseless Tamiyo. Or are we going to get Prismatic Ending first? No. Okay, we just got blue here. Blue doesn't remove our guy. So I'd like to bounce our Nomads. You got it. Swords to Plowshares. Not really what I wanted here. Attack you. Get a clue. I think we're going to draw a card first. I'm not going to try and just play out my whole combo here. I'm going to crack this. Underground Sea. I don't think I need to Cabal Therapy now, but maybe I do. Let's see if they interact with his Nomads first. Am I just going to Cabal Therapy my opponent? I could Cabal Therapy them next turn when I have more mana. Like, I can untap, do this, and then assemble the combo and make sure I hit everything they have. Because they could hide a thing with Brainstorm. He's not supposed to have fetched the Underground Sea. But our opponent hasn't got Wastelands in their deck. They've just got back to basics. So this is safe here. 4 mana. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Are we bouncing? Or are we brainstorming? Pretty hard to argue with a nice little Brainstorm as a 0 ability right there. Right. I don't really like that Prismatic Vista being over there. But we have 2 Cabal Therapies to pave the way this turn. I'm going to attack with my Tamiyo here. And this will attack the Teferi, I guess. We're going to try and win this turn, so I don't think it matters. I'd like to Cabal Therapy, please. I would like to name Force of Will if you let me. Then we can flash it back, sacrificing the Tamiyo. A Force of Will. You got it. Let's flash this back. What do we name here? Swords to Plowshares? Or another Force of Will? I think it's Swords to Plowshares. The chances of having another Force of Will are quite low. Surgical Extraction and a Force of Will. How do I beat this Surgical Extraction now? That is a doozy, isn't it? Not happy about that one. Let's draw a card. Another Nomads. Let's play the Nomads out. So we need to naturally draw into the Thassa's Oracle to beat this extraction. We don't have any more hand disruption. We have to answer this Teferi before we can try and Force of Will their Surgical. Tamiyo. So now they can just Brainstorm and flip it immediately with a Jace. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now we have 3 Planeswalkers to beat. Yikes. We were correct that we weren't supposed to name Force of Will there, but it was unfortunate they had the Surgical. They're more likely to have the Plow, because they probably have more Plows than Surgicals. It's just one of those ones where you have to make a guess. And if you guess the right thing and win the game, it looks great. And if you don't, then you're going to be sad. So we can't actually attack any of these things. Ponder. Maybe Ponder saves us. These cards don't look like they're going to save us. Any order in shuffle. Aether Vial. You're certainly one of the Magic the Gathering cards of all time, aren't you? Do I want to just start comboing, but then not go all the way? use it to clear cards from top of our library in future. How are we ever supposed to break out of this? Right, let's play an Aether Vial. Let's play... I don't even know if I want to play a second Nomads. We're just attacking with the Tamiyo and drawing an extra card. This will flip our Tamiyo. Our Tamiyo's been good for like 4 or so cards now, I think. Let's just try this. Flip the Tamiyo. Plus the Tamiyo. Play the Saga. This can give us some stuff to pressure Planeswalkers, which is not nothing. We probably know our opponent's cards in hand. I think the Surgical Extraction is still going to be there. I'm not so sure about the Force of Will. So next time we make a 2-2, and then we make a 4-4 to attack, so we can put 3 damage on the Tamiyo. This 1-mana Planeswalker being scarier in play than the 4-mana Planeswalker kind of shows you the problem with Tamiyo, really. It's like, if I get a chance to attack, I'm almost certainly attacking this Tamiyo, right? Disgusting. Like, we might even attack the Teferi over the Jace as well, just to turn back on our Force of Will. Narset Parter of Veils. Yep. That's pretty good against my Tamiyo. Why wouldn't they want to have another Planeswalker? Okay, so now they can just cleanly answer the Tamiyo. They don't care about this Nomads, I don't believe. Do us a favour and kill the Nomads instead, please. Oh, they're hitting the Aether Vial. Sure, that's the least relevant thing in my opinion. Obviously, we don't know what's in our opponent's hand here. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, so we need to draw Prismatic Ending. Yeah, if we draw Prismatic Ending, we can blow up the Teferi and then maybe get through there. Okay, we didn't do that. Do I want a Ponder back here? I'll take a Ponder. We're not going to be able to draw extra cards here, but we get to move them around. The Narset stops us. But I think at this stage, we're so far behind, we need to do whatever we can. So we're not going to draw extra cards from the Ponder, but we are going to be able to clear those top 3 cards. I guess we could have cleared the top 3 cards. Obviously, we didn't know what the top 3 cards were, but you know what I mean. Jeez. Just going to play out another Nomads, I guess. Like, how are we going to get through Force of Will blue card plus Surgical? We can beat the Surgical if we have Thassa's Oracle in hand. We can beat the Force of Will if we have a Prismatic End to deal with the Teferi. The issue is doing both, especially under a clock of 4 Planeswalkers. Yikes. Swords to Plowshares also can be a bit of a problem for us. There's just no way out here, is there? Now I know how Ray Liotta felt in that movie. I'm pretty sure it was Ray Liotta who was in No Way Out. I am talking about other things because things are not going well on the Magic front. Let's crack a guy into play. This can at least pressure something. Now they might have other equipment that we don't know about here as well. Let's see what we draw and see if we want to make any different choices. I guess we're just going to make a guy here. It's Shuko, so we can attack with a creature with more power. No, it's probably Pithing Needle, and we just shut down Tamiyo. So they don't draw their entire deck. But the only problem with that is this Teferi is going to make them able to bounce. So I think we have to go Swords to Plowshares on the Stoneforge. They'll probably put in an equipment here. Cryptic Coat. And what this is going to do is it's going to block our construct. They can also just plow our construct. There's like a million different ways that our opponent wins the game. Let's attack the... Look at this. How many options do I need of things to attack? Boo. So we're going to attack for 2 here. To try and keep this Teferi off of bouncing to get the Tamiyo unlocked. They can just put this in front of it. They can Swords to Plowshares it. They're just going to draw half our deck here. We don't need to keep playing this game. Yeah, we were absolutely deconstructed there. A thorough shellacking from the control deck. Now, we got into a really good spot where we managed to wriggle our way through in game 2, I think it was. And then we had the... If we'd have named the right thing with Cabal Therapy, we would have been okay there. I think we named them statistically more likely one for them to have. But it didn't really work out for us. But let's say this was a plow instead of a surgical, we would have just won on that turn. So we did have some game there, but it just felt really difficult and things had to line up perfectly. Let's go to round number 4. Oh, wait, no, sorry. We're not going to round number 4. That was only game 2. Oh, okay. Okay, that just was so long and grindy that my brain thought that was the last one. All right. Let's go and just resubmit, I think is fine. There's an argument for the Daze, but I don't necessarily think we need it. Brainstorm. Yeah, I'll keep this one. Let's just play this one out. So we can go and get a Surveil land. I don't think we have to be that worried about back to basics. It's not really going to be the tools our opponent's reaching for. And it's probably one of the things that comes out to give them room for the Pyroblasts that are really good against us. So I think we are probably getting Surveil land here, and then next turn consider brainstorming. So I'm going to get a Meticulous Archive. We could go and get the black one, because we don't care if that one gets locked down that much in the grand scheme of things. But if it's our only land, then I guess it's a bit annoying. We do have white mana off of this Witch Enchanter. I wouldn't mind having access to this Cabal Therapy, so I think we're actually going to get the Undercity Sewers here. Now, we might be putting this Cabal Therapy back, but I think just actually having a Cabal Therapy is quite a good place to be in terms of breaching our opponent's hand. I don't need a Plains here. An Aether Vial, okay. I'm going to cast a Brainstorm. Bunch of lands. That's good to have. We don't need this many Illusionists, do we? We can put back the Witch Enchanter as well now. So now we can go get an island here and just deploy an Aether Vial. And then next turn we can jam this. I don't know if we want to jam the Cabal Therapy until we're ready to go. So maybe we're just going to hold for a turn, but it depends what we draw. Nomads en-Kor, you say? Okay, I'm going to Cabal Therapy my opponent. You're going to Brainstorm and hide your cards. Alright, I'm going to name Source to Plowshares off of this one, I believe. We hit the Source to Plowshares and now our opponent dies. Oh, that's beautiful stuff. Well done, me. Let's crack this. Get a Tundra. Activate this. Put in the Nomads. Get the Illusionist down. Bingo. Alright, we actually won the match. A minute ago I was talking about having lost the match, but it was just a one very sad and grindy game. But we managed to get in underneath our opponent quite nicely here. The Cabal Therapy was great. Maybe we just want to play more discard, and that's how Breakfast deck should be, and just lean more heavily into the black, because Thoughtseize is great, and maybe just having more of that sort of effect would be useful. I don't know. Anyway, we're on the board. Let's go to round 4. Okay, how do we feel about this one? This doesn't tutor for the part we want. It does tutor for a Tamiyo, which is a reasonable way of playing Magic. I'd rather have this hand, but with some kind of cantrip. I do like the Emergency Force of Will, and we can pitch a step through to it. Alright, I'm going to keep this one. I think it's kind of middling, to be honest. Right, let's just play a Flooded Strand here, and then we can go and get our Surveil land. If we're playing on basics, this gets us our blue and this gets us our white, but we're going to see what our opponent plays, and then we can kind of infer what we need to do here. An Arab Mesa, is this going to be energy? That's the most likely culprit here, which means you probably do want to play on basics. Guide of Souls or Ocelot Pride, either one is going to get chewed up. Esper Sentinel. Okay, that card is not good enough for me to care about. That's good. I'll play this one, I guess. Esper Sentinel. What are they doing over there? It's not a card you see often, and I don't think it's playable enough for Legacy, to be honest. If it was a 2-1, then we're talking. Even if it was a 1-2, it might be a little bit better. A Voice of Victory. Well, we can't counterspell it, but we can Prismatic Ending it. I'm going to turn this into an Undercity Sewers, and then we're going to play on basics for the other 2 lands. Oh, Source to Plowshares. Yes, please. So this is Plains and Island. Maybe we're just supposed to get non-basics all the way down. Alright, let's just get rid of this Voice of Victory. Yes, I will pay. There's a Wasteland, a Goblin Bombardment. That is genuinely really annoying for us. I think we have to counterspell this, because we're trying to win the game with a bunch of 1/1 creatures. You can get a card. Well done, Esper Sentinel. You did something. You've now replaced the card that you were worth for 1 mana. So we're going to lose our black source here, which is bad for our Cabal Therapy. But our third land can only find a non-basic anyway. Alright, Brainstorm. I will pay. Yeah, I like these cards a lot. Let's do something like this. Tap Tundra. For an Aether Vial. So Esper Sentinel only attacks the first spell you play every turn as well. If it attacks every spell, then maybe it'd be a bit better. Time. Okay, they've now played a good creature in Guide of Souls. But we do have a couple of plows going. We're just in the Nomads / Shuko waiting room. Don't know what set that mountain's from. It's nice though. Alright. We're going to take 1 from the Esper Sentinel. I wonder if our opponent is running green stuff, or is this just another white fetch land? Could be running like Bright Glass Gearhulk, is it? Which can tutor for all the 1-drops. That's a little bit tough to cast though. So I know we're drawing a Source to Plowshares. We're going to do this on our opponent's turn, because then we can just pay once, and then if there's another creature we need to plow, we can plow out on the same turn cycle. Is this just going to be a Surveil land? It is. I don't think our opponent is running green. Caracas. That can impact our Tamiyo plan. A wasteland. Okay, I'm going to source to plowshares this Guide of Souls. I will pay the 1. If they have another creature that we want to plow this turn, we can. I'm not going to waste a plow on Esper Sentinel. If this kills us, then so be it. It's a price I'm willing to pay. I will put a counter on this. 2 mana is better than 1 for the most part. Cabal Therapy, yep. We can't use that right now. Let's pass it over. We've still got this plow that we can fire off. If our opponent gives us a worthwhile target. It's the Voice of Victory that's annoying because we can't plow a Voice of Victory if they play it. We have to wait till our turn. Okay, Caracas. That could give them some like small engine with an Ajani. I will take 1 from this Sentinel. We will not put a counter on this. Meticulous Archive. Sure, happy to dig our way to victory. I don't want to force a will at this stage of the game. In the beginning of our opponent's combat, I'm going to tap this Aether Vial. Will it let us untap it, though? I don't think it does let us untap it. Alright, another wasteland, sure. I was trying to think if we could tap and then untap this and just play the games, but I don't think it works that way. Let's float some failure mana and then wait till they go to attacks. Maybe they won't attack into it. Alright, no fear from our opponent. Our attempt to blag them has failed. But again, this is a 10-turn clock. We're going to see so many more cards before we have to worry about the damage that this creature's doing. Our opponent's hand probably has some amount of Source to Plowshares in. A Nomads. Interesting. We could attempt to go for it here. The problem is our opponent has 4 cards in hand. I would like to see what some of those cards are. Need to draw a fetch land. We're not under any pressure, so we can just kind of do our thing. Just try and draw a fetch land, or if our opponent taps out for something. It's just the things that they would keep in hand at this point. Arena of Glories. They can make a hasty friend. Okay. Tap out for some big hasty thing that we can then blow up. Amped Raptor. Sure. Oh, they got a Gigantha as well. What have they revealed? Another Amped Raptor. Okay. That's fine. I guess I'll plow this one. Save a little bit of life. Just tap out opponent, it'll be fine. 3 cards in hand. What could they be? They've made a land drop like every turn. They could just be flooded. We'd love to find something that allows us to peek their hand. So give me that fetch land, please, because we still have the Underground Sea in our deck. Not the one. Play the Nomads. If they go to remove this, we can flash in the Illusionist. And we can mill most of our library. Take some damages here. We can mill enough of our library that we can just draw for turn. I think we do need to be going for it. Alright, here comes a white spell. A Static Prison. Let's see what they target with the Static Prison, and then we activate our Aether Vial. Targeting the Nomads. I would like to activate this Aether Vial. I'll put in this Illusionist. I'll target the Illusionist. Now we can kind of do our thing. Alright, we probably could have got away with it last turn. I guess there's a risk that they just have enough removal spells that we can't combo off with the Dread Return. That's a possibility. Have to remember this is in our opponent's turn. If the bottom card of our library is Dread Return, we also lose here, right? Right, we found the Dread Return. Oh my god, I misclicked. Didn't get the Narcomoeba back. That is a horrible misclick there. What does this do? This creature attacks, you may put creature card excellent. Okay, I don't care about that. We'll activate this. Yes, put in Narcomoeba. I would like to Dread Return this Thassa's Oracle, please. I will pay the 1. Okay, our opponent's got some unusual choices in there. We've got the Kinscare Sentry. This allows them to put a creature in from attacking. Interesting. Okay. I would like some removal. The rest of our hand here doesn't look very... Sorry, the rest of our sideboard here doesn't look good. Like, they might have some damage that we can prevent, so they might have lightning bolts. But generally, they tend to just play the white removal and then the red... and then the creatures. And then I guess we can play around the Goblin Bombardment. Let's go to this Daze. Again, it's just a Venser every time. Like, how are we playing a 4-mana spell? It's just not what Legacy is about. Let's submit this. Like, we could play the Pith Needle as well, actually. Is that better than Aether Vial when our opponent isn't playing counter magic? I don't know. We'll think about that if we get to game 3. This hand has a significant problem, but it also has Tamiyo Brainstorm. Yeah, Tamiyo Brainstorm seems like a pretty good play. We do have the combo in our hand as well. It's a case of whether or not we can survive to that point, but the Brainstorm does a lot of work on that front. Okay, I'm going to hold this up. Is that true? I don't want this just getting gobbled up. I don't want to just... No, yeah, I think we're going to pass for this turn. And the plan is to Lightning Bolt, to Swords to Plowshares after they play their land drop for turn if they're not playing a Wasteland. Okay, so now we can Swords to Plowshares their Guide of Souls. And then we can untap and hopefully go like Tamiyo with Brainstorm backup. But we'll see what our opponent does. I wonder why they're fetching basics against us. Okay, they're not. Okay, they're not fetching basics. Kinscare Sentry. I don't care about that, I don't think. Tundra. Just Plows Guide of Souls. Narcomoeba, not the hits we were hoping for. Let's get this as a Saga up and running. I think I like the Tamiyo here. It protects our life total. If we get Wastelanded, we're going to feel sad for not Brainstorming. But maybe they won't Wasteland us. Like, we just need to survive long enough for this to pop and us to have a blue source to play the Illusionist. Maybe we'll find a Force of Will as well that can protect against like one removal spell our opponent may have. A Voice of Victory. Okay, we're mainly interested in counter spells on our turn anyway. They can attack with this. They gain 2 life and they get a free guy. Oh, they're getting rid of the Plow. That is, in my opinion, not how you want to use your Graveyard Hate against our Graveyard combo deck. I think they're right to bring in Surgical Extraction. I just don't think they're right to use it this way. Yeah. Let's see what they put in. Nothing. Well, I'm obviously going to block here. Why would you do this to me, Narcomoebas? We used to be friends. Alright, let's attack. If our opponent didn't have another creature to put in, that doesn't seem good for them. Let's cast a Brainstorm now. I think we want to get rid of the Dread Return and a Narcomoeba. Flips our Tamiyo. Plus the Tamiyo. Play this out. Crack this. I guess we want an island. And then we have 2 choices. We can play out the Cephalid Illusionist and maybe get a piece of removal out of our opponent's hand. But if they're being really weird with their Surgicals, maybe we just want to play out a Narcomoeba here. Then we have more bodies. And then hopefully this Force of Will does enough to win the game next turn. Voice of Victory and the Teferi are very different in how they interact. Because Teferi is you can only cast stuff at sorcery. This is I can only cast stuff during my turn. And if I'm just trying to combo on my turn, it's not going to have the biggest impact. Now obviously you still run Voice of Victory. It deals a lot of damage. It has a lot of synergy with your deck. You know, it gives you red permanents for a Ajani. It gives you stuff to ping off with the Bombardiers. Alright. The 1/1 guys are not going to be minused because of the way that this works. They come into play attacking. Okay, so they've got an Ajani over there. Makes a little friend. Got some little guys. They're coming at Tamiyo. That's fine. 2 cards on our opponent's hand. Do I think we can just ignore those cards? We have 2 Cephalid Illusionists. Okay, a Wasteland. That's going to take out our Saga. That is a real problem. And the Bombardment that we can't counter with his Force of Will. Yeah. I think that's probably the quality of turn our opponent needed to have here. So now they're pinging down our poor defenseless Narcomoeba. Making a cat. Don't forget to Wasteland opponent. And pinging us down with their little tokens. Sure. Oh, why did they go for that one? Interesting. So we get the Shuko. This Bombardment is a real pain. It's a Pondering. I don't mind having another land drop. And play this one out. We can crack this. We can go and get planes. How much damage are we taking next turn is the question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, they have us dead next turn. Yikes. I think we are... Yeah, we're just dead here. Okay. Awkward. They've tied the matchup. Do we want Dazes on the play? Do you want this Pithing Needle? No, I think we just want the removal we've got in here. This hand has some problems, I won't lie, but I think I'm going to keep it. I think the Aether Vial is just too good to pass up here. Because this is just going to get us where we need to go mana-wise. If they Wasteland us on turn 1, at least they're not going to be doing anything else. Okay, so they just play a guy here and we draw a land, we can just win. Although they might have a Surgical Extraction that we might need to be aware of. We did draw a land. Let's play this Witch Blessed Meadow. Let's activate this. Does our opponent have a response? They did not respond. They're F6'd. They're very F6'd over there. Oh no, maybe they're not F6'd. Alright, let's... Alright, they were F6'd, and that is the end of that match. Okay, that's the Cephalid Breakfast experience we all really want to have. Okay, so we've ground our way through 4 rounds, and we are 2-2, so a positive record is on the cards. Let's see if we can grab it. Ponder? Sure. This is going to help us find our way. I think we're just going to get a basic island to begin with. Make ourselves as nondescript as possible. And also we've got plenty of lands here. Narcomoeba, Plow, Venser. I think this is an any orange shuffle. Okay, we now have the combo. So next turn we can Cabal Therapy our opponent if we wish. We can see what they're playing from their first turn and go from there. Shatterskull Smashing. Okay, so we might be looking at some kind of like red stompy deck. That probably means we want to play out this Nomad so it doesn't get hit by a Chalice. Sure, we'll try that. We've got our basics as well. And next turn we can just jam this Cephalid Illusionist and try and win that way. This does expose this to removal, but the removal will have to be something like a Fury. Or maybe like a Broadside with something they can pitch. Or lots of mana. Okay, they have the One Ring. That doesn't beat us here. Because we don't care what they do. We just have this thing that says we win the game. Is there any reason to do anything else here? I don't think so. We just make the guy. And here we go. I don't think there's anything in the main deck that they have that will interact with us in any way, shape or form. Alright, we've got all our Narcomoebas out now. We're just milling the last few cards of our library. They're just seeing our build, especially since Cephalid Breakfast is kind of not really a deck right now that people are playing very much of. It's important to see what we're actually doing with it. Target Thassa's Oracle. Sack my little friends. And we win the game. One Ring does not stop us having a win the game trigger. How are we going to defeat this mono red stompy deck? This is probably where we're actually going to want some of these cards we haven't brought in yet. So the Consigns are decent. The Prismatic Ending to deal with their Chalice seems good. If they're trying to kill our creatures, this might actually be relevant. This could stop the One Ring. This could stop the One Ring. So these are options for us. What do I not like here? The Cabal Therapy is kind of there to make sure we can get stuff out of our hands. So I think that matters. Daze on the draw I don't particularly like. I might like this on the play though because they are trying to resolve 4-drops. So they don't really care about those 4-drops. Is this a game where we get to leverage Tamiyo very much? Maybe not. We definitely want the plows. It's Venser, isn't it? Let's be honest. Venser should not be in this deck. If we get rid of these, we could trim an Aether Vial. And then we're still a few cards over then, aren't we? So we've got ourselves some what? Consigns and Forces. How much do we want these cards? The plows look great here. Can we afford to take out a Narcomoeba? I like the Aether Vial actually plays through some of the scary stuff. Maybe we're actually taking out like a Ponder here. And then we get in... Maybe it's the ending so we can deal with the Chalice. Right, let's try this. Got a couple of plows. That's going to keep us alive for a little while. We can play off our basics very quickly here. Leyline in the Void. That does make our life slightly more awkward. And we don't have any like disenchant style effects or Teferi to bounce this. Okay, so we're probably just going to play out this Flooded Strand. And we're going to Ponder here. So we can beat Leylines. That's not... It's going to win the game immediately. Step Through is one of the ways that we beat it. So that seems good. I don't mind the Aether Vial here. Alright, we'll put them like this. So we do have the ability to beat this Leyline now because we've got the Step Through. We just need the enabler like the Nomads. Hexing Squelcher. Yep, that's obviously very good. But we're not actually trying to counter stuff right now. Alright, let's Brainstorm. We then get to get something gone with this Undercity Sewers if we want it. We don't want this in our hands, so we can put the Narcomoeba back. Probably just don't want this Surveil land. And then we can play this one out. We can crack this for a Tundra is fine. We could go and get another island, actually. And then we can cast Thassa's Oracle more easily. Yeah, okay, I like that. Then we can cast Thassa's Oracle underneath a Blood Moon. This goes up to 1 on the next turn. We're sort of lining all of our pieces up here. An untapped Shatterskull Smashing. We're just going to see a One Ring here. We are indeed. It's a very strong card that's going to give them a lot of juice. It's going to be all up in our business. But we've got time here. We can use our Step Through as a way of shuffling off this Brainstorm as well. Right, let's Brainstorm. Found the Nomads. Excellent. So what do we not want? I don't think we need this. And might as well put this one back. No, we would kind of like a land drop for next turn. I guess we don't need all of these plows. Okay. So we just have the win next turn. Can our opponent hit us for 16 this turn? That seems incredibly unlikely to me. And they're quite likely to just tap out and do stuff here. Their deck is very much a sorcery speed deck. Like even their removal spells tend to be things like Fury and Pyrogoyf and Broadside Bombardiers, which isn't sorcery speed, but it is on your own turn. They might have Dead and Gone, and they might have Pyroblasts. We'd very much like you to tap out, opponent. We might be in a situation where we can plow their Hexing Squelcher next turn and have a Force of Will if we draw one. A Chalice of the Void where X equals 1. That doesn't stop us from winning the game next turn, unless we draw our one of Dread Return. Okay, you got it. Just tap out for something big. You know, just put Pyrogoyf in or whatever. As long as you don't have mana, I'm going to feel very comfortable. A Broadside Bombardiers. You got it. So they can't Pyroblast because of their own Chalice, so we should be just totally fine to win this one now. Putting us to 6. In the end step, I'm going to Wizard Cycle here. Go and get this Thassa's Oracle. Still in the end step, I'm going to tap this. Put in our 1-drop that we can't cast through a Chalice. Untap. Put a counter on this. Cephalid Illusionist. Paying costs. I'm afraid your Chalice... Oh no, the Chalice is not going to kill their guy, is it? Because they have the Hexing Squelcher here. So we need to... We can't plow this either. How do we do this? Okay, we put the... Yeah, this is what we do. We put the Thassa's Oracle into play. We move the damage onto this. Yes, this works. The damage goes over to the Thassa's Oracle. The Illusionist comes into play. And then I missed this Hexing Squelcher interaction briefly there. This is fine because we have the Cabal Therapy. We can still cast the Cabal Therapy. It won't resolve, but it will sacrifice our guy. Oh no, we can't do that actually, right? Because the ley line. What am I doing? Oh no, I've lost this one. I've lost this one, haven't I? Because we can't get everything empty now. I'm trying to play around too many things and we don't have the ability to play around any of them. Yeah, we're just dead here. Maybe if we'd have ploughed this in response to the Chalice. Yeah, I think we could have won that one. Do I want this Civi's Valor? I think I maybe do. Maybe just take out Ponder. And we'll go for this. Do I like the Aether Vial here? Honestly, seems pretty good. Maybe it's just better than the Ponder. Although we do need to move some cards around. No, I'll keep the Ponder in. We've got counter spells. How are we supposed to... Yeah, we're supposed to kill their guy and then we'd have the mana to untap and do it. Yeah, we should have killed their guy in response to the Chalice. In case they had the Dead and Gone, but I just missed that. Sometimes when you record 10 rounds of Legacy in a day, you don't always play to your finest in the last one. I don't like this one, but this gets us closer to beating Chalice, to beating Leyline. I will keep it for that reason. And we also start on our basic, which is nice. I don't even think we Ponder on turn 1. I think we Ponder on turn 2, so we can hold up the consign for a turn 1 Chalice. Hexing Squelcher is in every single deck at the moment, it seems. No Leyline. Interesting. A Blood Moon. I will sacrifice this Misty Rainforest for a basic island. We do not have any Hydroblasts, but we do have the ability to combo off with just blue mana. Let's cast a Ponder here. Got the Nomads. We don't need that. We got the Step Through. We kind of want that. So I'm going to play out the Shuko ahead of a Chalice. It's more likely they have Chalices than they have like artifact destruction because we don't have very many artifacts. So I don't think it's worth boarding it in when they've got stuff like Dead and Gone and Chalices and things like that they're going to be using instead. Chromox. How much mana do you get up to this turn, opponent? I wonder. 3 mana. Broadside Bombardiers. You got it. I could try and Brainstorm and find a land. Do I need another land to win this game is the question. I don't think we do. So we can Cabal Therapy ourselves to put this Thassa's Oracle into the bin next turn. Need you to tap out here. The One Ring. Beautiful. Love to see that for us. Chrome Mox. Sure. Is this going to allow them to play... Oh, they're just throwing at us. Okay, that's fine. And then we get to win, I believe. Wizard Cycle. It's going to get Illusionist. Untap. Play this land that doesn't do anything. They got no cards in hand. So this is a clean win here. And we don't have any Narcomoebas in our hand, so we'll definitely have enough to Cabal Therapy ourselves and get the Thassa Oracle out of our hand. Should be one more Narcomoeba in there. There it is. And then I will Cabal Therapy, targeting myself, sacking an Narcomoeba in Thassa's Oracle. And then I will Dread Return, targeting Thassa's Oracle, sacking my remaining creatures. We got the GGs in chat. Alright, so we finished the league with a 3-2. Now, we did punt around against the... I can't remember if it was the blue-white player or not. No. Might have been the Elves early, or not the Elves, the Cradle Control early on, where we had a line we could play to beat the Leyline in the Void, and we didn't give ourselves all the options that we could get, and we just happened to draw into our Thassa's Oracle that would have given us the win if we'd have played to it better. So I think that one was on me. So really, we could have had a 4-1 if we'd have played a little bit tighter. A 4-1's not a bad record, especially with a deck that has been doing very poorly, as I showed you the stats at the start. Maybe like the red matchup is good, and because red has been like nowhere for a while and suddenly come back the last 2 weeks, maybe Cephalid Breakfast has got a slightly better matchup spread than it had before. We certainly beat the energy deck, and that felt okay as long as they didn't have a Goblin Bombardment. That felt like a disaster for us. I think there is... Obviously, you know, you can sometimes beat the bombardment, but it's going to be real tough. Like we need stuff like this Civi's Valor, but they can just play over the top of it if they've got enough guys. So I think this deck is still fine. I think we did feel quite fragile at times, and the backup plans just weren't there. This Venser, I don't think this Venser is very good. Now, the reason it's in here is so that you have the ability to step through to tutor the Venser so you can bounce out something like a Leyline. That is an option, but that's such an expensive line that I don't think it's worth it, because the amount of times that someone just has a Leyline and does nothing are so low in this format that you're never really going to get the space and time. The Leyline is going to mean that you have to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole to get there, and most of the time it's just going to be better to step through to get the Thassa's Oracle and you win, right? Because if you already have your combo, then you can just get the Thassa's Oracle instead of the Venser, so it's kind of not really doing anything there. There are obviously other permanents that you might want to bounce, and we don't have like a clean disenchant style effect in our list. We just have like Prismatic Ending, which doesn't always hit everything. I wouldn't mind having like an Exorcise in here. I think the Venser definitely needs to go. It could be another Tamiyo, it could be another Saga, it could be like a tutor target for the Saga, but I think just another Tamiyo makes the most sense. This is the best backup plan you can have because this just wins you the game on its own. So I would probably want to try and do that. You could also go up to 4 Ponder by cutting the Venser. The rest of this seemed fine. We brought out the Daze a lot, but that it's just a thing that happens with Daze anyway. It's just a card that is great in certain situations. Like sometimes if you want all of the counter magic available in a combo matchup, sure, we can have this. Or if it's just like a straight up race against another deck that has a bunch of combo stuff as well, this can be useful. But yeah, I thought this list was fine. A couple of little tweaks here and there. I think the sideboard is where I have the main criticisms. So I understand the Agent of Treachery and Ashen Rider stuff, because clearly this is there for the show and tell matchup. Either of these is going to be pretty good. If they put an Omniscience into play and you immediately blow it up or steal it, like stealing is obviously the best, then that's pretty much going to be a lock for you and you're probably going to win that one. However, that is 3 slots we're dedicating pretty much to just one matchup. And that matchup is not many percentages of the meta. If we just pull up the data here, Omnitel is 4% of the meta, Sneak and Show is 3%. So between them, we're looking at like 7.5% of the meta. Is that worth 3 slots in your sideboard for? I'm not convinced it is, especially when we could play stuff that is for that matchup as well, but isn't necessarily these cards. And it can also be used elsewhere. So you could run something like Disruptor Flute, and then you can use that, and you can play it on stuff like Surgical Extraction in some matchups that might be handy. Or you can play it on Endurance. But you can also play it on things like Show and Tell to slow your opponent down a lot. So I think this would be where I make the changes. The Civi's Valor was cool. We nearly did some... Actually, we almost won a game against Delver with this, right? I think that was one of the matchups we lost. I think Delver's going to be pretty good into us for the most part, because they're going to be able to remove our stuff efficiently and they're going to clock us very quickly, which is what you want. You want a good clock and cheap interaction is how you beat combo decks. And that's what Delver has. And unlike other combo decks where maybe you need a Thoughtseize to interact with us, you can interact with us using red spells. So the Delver deck is going to be absolutely odds on there. And they get a bunch of Pyroblast out of the board to make it even worse for us. So I think my main criticism with this particular list would be the sideboard and the Venser. So if you just swap those around, I think the list is looking fine. The Aether Vial seemed alright. Definitely had some uses to it. But I think the validity of counterspells right now in Legacy is definitely declining. So many decks are running Hexing Squelcher. Today we saw it out of Mono Red, we saw it out of Delver, and what else did we see it out of today? I can't remember. But we're seeing it in basically every deck that can play red is running Hexing Squelcher. So how useful are counter spells here? Maybe you could try a build of Cephalid Breakfast that leans more into the black and you're trying to cast more hand disruption. Because then you don't have to pitch good blue stuff. Because quite often the blue cards we're pitching to Force of Will end up being things like, a Cephalid Illusionist. And that's not really where we want to be. So if we just turn this into something like Thoughtseize and just had some interaction that we know is going to work, whereas like the Hexing Squelcher can really shut down the ability to interact with counters, and that's going to be like just a big thing you have to be aware of in so many matchups. Maybe that's a better way to take this one. And also having the information about what your opponent's doing is quite nice. Maybe it's not a case of you lose all the Force of Wills, but you could like trim on Force of Wills here and get some Thoughtseizes in, and then maybe have some more Thoughtseizes in the board for when you need those. I don't know, just a thought. It just does feel like Hexing Squelcher is one of the big sort of meta-changing things that have just come into Legacy that you need to respect. And Aether Vial respects counterspells, and I don't think you need to respect counterspells as much right now because of Hexing Squelcher and people's counterspells being worse and leaning more into hand disruption as a better way of doing things. But, this is still fine. Maybe you still want some copies to get off the Urza Saga, but you might be able to trim this down to 3 or 2 copies and get something going there. But it is quite nice being able to like just pop off on turn 2 after cantripping. Sorry, you can pop off on turn 2 without having to expose your creature to a removal spell. I don't know, it feels like nobody's cracked the correct build for Cephalid Breakfast yet. Like maybe you want to go back to playing the Stoneforge Mystic plan. Maybe you could play Stoneforge Mystic plus Felia plus Quantum Riddler. Is that too many slots? I don't know, but that's something you could do. And then you've got like a nice solid play there where you can just blow up any scary permanents you need using Meteor Sword, which is going to be doing a lot better than Venser because you're going to get rid of the permanents once and for all. So maybe that's a different way you could look at things here. And you can also like slow mill yourself with a Felia, just targeting your Cephalid Illusionist, which is quite funny. And Felia can blink out Leyline. It's just, they're printing all these like modern Horizons cards that are really, really strong. So maybe you want to try and fit them into this shell. So if you were to cut these 4 and this, that's 5 slots you've got there. Maybe we're just having to cut the step throughs. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots. That frees you up some for like a couple of Felia, a couple of Stoneforge. Maybe you're not playing Urza Saga. If you're using Stoneforge, you can get rid of the Saga, have a more solid mana base. Maybe you cut both Sagas and you add 1 land and then 1 spell, and you could try and fit in like a Felia Stoneforge package. I don't know if you get to run Quantum Riddler as well, but that's just a nice lever that you could have to pull. Maybe you're cutting Tamiyos. Like maybe you get 8 slots there, so that's like 3 Felia, 3 Stoneforge, and like a Meteor Sword and a Batter Skull. Maybe that's something you want to do. I think you might be pushed to try and get the Riddler in there. But if you've got a list that's got that in there, by all means send it over. But yeah, I think we're done for today. I've gone over this one quite a lot. I like to go over things when someone submits a donation deck because then I can, really give some more feedback on my thoughts. And hopefully people enjoy hearing that. And if not, you've probably already closed the video. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Check out 341 Trading in the description if you need to buy any Magic the Gathering cards. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.